Let's take a look at this video footage first.
We've asked for 10% pay rise this year. The government have just given us 2% without any negotiation.
We know housing prices are going up, we know food prices are going up. I know that a lot of, two of my colleagues who I know in particular have been struggling to find replacement accommodation whilst working in the NHS.
I've had 3 operations in the last 6 months, and I can see that the nurses there are very, very overstretched.
Industrial action staged by rail staff, nurses, border guards, Royal Mail workers and others are set to be repeated in the new year as unions are planning more strikes action into 2023. So, what's behind this wave of strike action? Data released by the Bank of England notes that the country's annual inflation rate had stood at 11.1% last October, the highest level in more than 40 years. After energy prices and food bills soared across the world last year on supply constraints caused by Russia-Ukraine conflicts and the lifting of pandemic lockdown. Reacting to the data, British Chancellor Exchequer Jeremy Hunt said getting inflation down so people's wages go further was his top priority. And PM Rishi Sunak's Conservative government insists that inflation-busting pay hikes would worsen inflation.
The best thing that I can do as Chancellor is produce a plan that brings down inflation, brings down the upward pressure on interest rates, but also means that those nurses are having to pay more for their mortgages every month. So what we need is to put that plan in place. It's not going to be easy. There are going to be some very difficult choices. I've used the word eye-watering before, and that's the truth.
What makes things even worse is that UK unemployment has edged up to 3.7% last December, and the ONS says the unemployment rate has increased in 3 months since last September. At the same time, sky-high inflation continues to squeeze wages, resulting in mass strike action across Britain. ONS adds that number of working day lost rose again in last October to the highest monthly level in over 10 years.
Living standards and also the issues we're seeing in the world today fall on the Pareto curve, meaning we will have a small minority of the population who will live very well. And then you have almost the middle class and also the working poor in this country who are working, who are making a living, but are still suffering due to the conditions that we see in the world, but they're feeling the impacts today.
So, what impacts will the economic situation in the UK have on the European continent? Experts say the most direct impacts on purchasing power and tourism industry, as many Britons have cancelled their travelling plans in the second half of last year. At the same time, the European Union's Executive Commission slashed its forecast for economic growth in 2023, saying that 19 countries that use euro currency will slide into recession.
The world is going through what we call the Great Convergence, where issues like globalization, geopolitics, transformative technology, and societal change are all coalescing and impacting the world in many different ways. And the impacts of this Great Convergence is impacting the world, and the results of that are very divergent.
And the Bank of England has warned that the UK is facing its longest recession since records began, with the economic downturn expected to extend well into 2024.